it's churning. We're
Now.
live.
Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. This program is brought to you by Lee's Family Trailer Sales and Service, one of America's fastest growing RV dealerships. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
All right, and welcome everybody to RVing in New England, and we are here on a Wednesday night. Welcome, John. You want to introduce this illustrious guest that we have tonight?
We have an illustrious guest. In fact, he's so illustrious that he is a semi-annual guest. And he is Randy Murray. He is from Pete's RV Center. He comes here twice a year.
He's the director of service.
Director of
Pete's
service.
RV.
That has got to be, it's not service director. He's director of service. That must be the new politically correct way to do it. Randy, can you still?
I've been running 5 service departments, and they started calling me that. So,
hey,
Randy, that's what it says on my business card.
Can you see without the glasses on?
Not very well. As I get
okay.
Yeah,
it's just the glare. It's just, put them on if you have to. It's just the glare, but Zagami has that same glare, but it's with the top of his head, not with the glasses.
All right.
So Randy is with us every couple of months.
Hey, Randy, you got a member of your fan club already called in, Randy.
Mr. Horky.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yep.
We got Lisa Warren from RV Show USA. Hello, Lisa. And
it's the RV Show USA, not RV. It's the RV Show USA.
Jim Roy from Maine, Silver Moose Restorations.
Wait, hey, Jim Roy is Randy's cousin in spirit. Show his picture there.
Yeah, you see it, Jim. He's got a beard like you.
I think it's a big one. This is better. All right, his show. I was pretty impressed.
Maria likes our intro. Tom Zabrowski, good evening, guys. Hey, Tom. Dante's there.
What
evening, guys. Okay. Everybody likes to do intro stuff. Oh, Randy, did we get you mad? You wanted to leave the hotel room?
Yep, exactly right. Well, I'm surprised that Randy. Pete's has a store down in right near the Foxborough Stadium, the Gillette Stadium.
Yep.
And Randy used to stay at that hotel at Gillette Stadium. But they finally gave him a cease and desist because they said, if you ain't going to use Gillette products, you ain't staying. So now he's got to stay a mile away from the stadium. So anyway,
that's how it went down.
So one of the things that we want to talk about tonight, and first of all, we want to say thank you to all of our guests that come with us, but also special thanks to our studio audience because, Bob, would you agree that they are really our second set of guests? Not that they come in second, but they all contribute to the show. And in so many cases, since Zagami and I don't prepare for the show, we have, it gets to be 20 minutes into the show. We're totally out of things to say. We have to look for the guest to be able to take it for the next 40 minutes. But our guest, let me tell you, folks, we appreciate you spending your time here on a beautiful in this case, live Wednesday night. So, well, not a better beer, just an older one.
Yeah, so, and we also appreciate your support of our New England RV and Camping Expo last weekend, weekend before last, and it was a great success. We would have liked to have had some more people in there, but the people that we had really spent a lot of time on the main stage and the display expo exhibits, and thank you, Randy, because Pete's RV was one of our sponsors of the program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Randy, go ahead, John. What?
One of the things that we wanted to do tonight, when you're in New England, and the name of this show is RVing in New England, even though we have a national audience with people from all over the place, even foreign countries like New Jersey and Connecticut, like New Jersey and Texas, we had 5 inches of snow on Friday, okay, after people had de-winterized their unit. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like the middle of April, camping season begins. So you don't have a lot of time to ramp up to it, especially if you keep your unit outside. And I think one of the things that we want to talk about tonight is some of the absolutely must-do checkpoints that would ensure a successful camping season coming up. What would you say are the top 3 things that, even though they're not visible, they have to be done to ensure a safe camping trip?
So safe camping trip or just maintenance? I guess if I had to have one thing that and you guys have all heard this before because I say it every time, seal the roof. Not seal your roof twice a year, visual inspection, get up on that roof, seal the roof. I see more probably if you only do one maintenance item, you get on the roof, check those roof seals. That's where a majority, if you're not maintaining anything, that's where the major damage is going to happen first because it takes a brunt of the weather. And it usually goes unseen before. It usually goes unseen long enough where some significant damage can occur before it rears its head. So seal the roof.
Okay, so the interesting part about the roof is it's generally not visible to the mortal man.
You got to get up there, and you got to know what you're looking for.
Yep. And the other thing is this. Would you agree with me that the summer sun creates more havoc on the roof than the winter snow?
Oh, man, so maybe sun where it takes out the oils, waxes, and polymers out of rubber, and we have a rubber roof. It's got a coating over the top of the actual rubber that does let it wear a little bit more. But I mean, think about it. Living in the Northeast, just something being outside and in the snow, the sleet, the freezing rain, the hot sun, the whatever all else that we put it through, hot and cold. We probably have in the Northeast the most dramatic swing when it comes to weather.
At least 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Right?
I worked outside in minus 40 before. Steel gets brittle at minus 40. So we have a huge, huge swing that your RV has to be able to combat. And to combat it, it needs maintenance. And the manufacturers require you to do a visual inspection on your roof twice a year. And I think that's the smartest thing that they could do to protect their investment in your product with their warranty. And when that warranty is up, continue to do that twice a year. Do that visual inspection.
All right, let's take that one step further, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you don't mind being put on the spot.
Ahead. I'm used to it.
We haven't asked you anything you can't answer the last 4 years, but I'm sure that the consumers have a big concern because they're hearing stories that the dealers are busy, the shops are busy, the technicians we still don't have enough technicians. Now we're coming into the spring. What advice do you have other than, get off your duff and get this thing in there if you're going to need service? But what's the best way to handle that? Because there's, tensions are building up. We hear, people are getting mad. They can't blame the dealer. It's a set of circumstances. So give them your perspective. So pretend you got an irate customer out there and give them your perspective. What do you say to the customer in these kinds of times when we're slow on deliveries and PDIs, getting stuff ready, getting people in the shop, getting a service appointment? What do you, as the director of service, what do you say to your 5 shops when they get customers come in that are not going to understand, some will not understand the marketplace that we have today?
You'll have a question in there somewhere. I don't know where the hell the question
was. I was on a roll. I didn't want to stop.
So I think I want to go 2 different directions with this because there's one thing that I would like consumers to do, and when I say this, I don't mean it to be derogatory, but I think people, it's kind of in human nature over the last probably 10 years. People are, before they try to help themselves, they will reach out for help, and I like to educate myself on something. So if I'm going to be using it, I'm going to educate myself, or before I purchase it, I'm going to educate myself as much as I can. So when I do use it, I can work my way through it, or I know where the resources go to answer the questions that I need. I'm not going to make a phone call immediately if something isn't working 100% correctly, or I can't figure out how to make it work. So I think people, if they realistically, there's a lot of business going on in the RV world right now. And COVID is something that has totally changed our way of doing business, and it changed our business. There's not a day that goes by at our 5 locations where you don't get someone that calls in and they're like, I have a sick to my stomach, or I have a headache, and so of course, so we haven't been working with full staff. There hasn't been, so that we have to let them wait whatever the governor's mandate on that state is. They have to stay home and take their temperature and get a test or what have you. So these dealers in around the country have not been fully staffed, but we've been busier than we've ever been before. So everybody is just trying to do everything they can to help people out. There's an incredible amount of shortages coming from the manufacturers right now. I've seen campers held up for hot plates, windows, countertops, foam. Foam is the biggie right now. You can't get foam. The chemical that you make foam with is not being made anywhere where you go on Amazon and try to buy something made out of foam. It's not there. So they're trying to figure out new ways to insulate RVs right now. We can't get insulation. So there is lots and lots of things going on right now that is making it very challenging for the dealers. Yet the customers who have been cooped up inside all winter long, and I get this. I have this conversation every day with somebody. These people have been inside doing what they've been told to do for a year, pretty much, right? And now it's starting to lighten up a little bit, and their camper is their way to get kind of back to a real life or something that they enjoy, rather than being cooped up in their house with their family all winter long. So, and then you got a guy like me telling you that you can't have it right now. That's a fun conversation a lot. So for the dealers, what we've been working on, and it's a hard conversation to have, but you got to set the groundwork. You got to prepare the people for what may come, and the people got to be a little bit, I don't want to say forgiving, because that's probably not a great word, but they got to be a little bit understanding. When my guys tell you something, they're not blowing smoke. They're telling you, hey, this is what happened. This is what way it went down, and we tried our best, but we're still going to be behind, or we're still going to short, or we're going to have to push out that delivery because of this. Right. Hitches are hugely hard to get right now. So I think setting it up with the customer to just give them the way that it could go down, and we're going to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So
there may be some assistance along the way, because Walter says it's beginning to happen at auto dealerships, repairs as well, due to parts availability for repairs. And we just had that situation at home with the dishwasher that was out of commission for 3 weeks trying to get parts. So maybe the consumers are getting the message, or they're understanding it's crossing all planes.
Some of them do, some of them don't, and I understand. I try to put myself in the customer's shoes every day of the week I want to feel like they feel when a guy like me is telling them the way, what's going on, and it's not the way that they want it. Yep. I put myself in their shoes every day, because you can't do what I do without having empathy. If you do, your business is gonna fail, or
you're gonna piss off so many people you won't have any customers left. Right?
Exactly.
Hey, we got an old friend with us tonight.
Well, don't say an old friend. Say an OLE friend.
Marty Canute. No, I'm still older than. I think I'm older than Marty. Hi from West Palm Beach. Like the open countdown. Nice to see RVing in New England coming on strong. Continued success. Well, thank you, Marty, and best wishes to you and Twinny down there in Florida, and nice to have you join us on the show. We certainly appreciate it. And Jerry Plant says Majors is booked into the middle of,
I think he means another time. I don't know where the National Weather Service came from.
What the hell is Jerry? You gotta write in English, Jerry. What the hell does that mean? Majors is booked into the middle of U.S. National Weather Service, Boston.
Okay, so Gami, while you're trying to figure out which one of those to run, I'm going to ask Randy an intelligent question again.
Yeah.
Or not ask a question, but make a statement.
But wait a minute. Are you saying that Jerry's question isn't intelligent?
No, I think it's very intelligent. I think it's an answer to the question that we brought up. But I think it's important to point out, and I think everybody would agree, especially anybody who's got anything from the manufacturer side, is that today's RVs have, and whether it's a travel trailer or motorized, they have so many components that are made by outsiders. But Winnebago doesn't make everything. Thor doesn't make everything. Forest River doesn't make everything. So Lippert does make everything. But I think it's important to point out that if there's a toilet shortage from Dometic, it's holding up your RV delivery, or you said a hot plate shortage, or windows from, the various window manufacturers. They can't ship it wherever they make it. They can't ship it without windows. They can't ship it incomplete like that. So all these units are building up at the manufacturer, and then eventually they'll all come out. But it's important to point out that the last thing you want to do is have a unit shipped that's incomplete. And then you have to wait in a different line for, PDI stuff that wasn't there, right? Right, Randy?
You do. So we actually put together a department for people with ordered units so we could keep them in the know, because just because you have an offline date right now does not mean that your coach will be offline and complete. So we actually hired people and put a room together with computers, and we're contacting people once a week that have units on order to let them know the status of their order.
Yeah.
Just so they have, again, laying that groundwork, giving the people, if you keep people in the know or keep the questions answered, you're going to be a lot better off. And we try really hard at that. We're not perfect at it. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you we are, because we're not. But that's what we try to do, and that's what we're doing right now the best we can.
Yeah. Well, I've said for years, and the best thing this industry can do, and we do not do it well enough, and I don't care if you're a manufacturer, a supplier, or a dealer, we do not manage the expectations of the customer. They have this vision that, man, I'm just going to run down there and get a camper. I'll pick it up 2 days later, and we'll be in the campground this weekend. They can take bad news. They've had other bad news in their life. They've had disruptions. Just tell them the damn truth.
But Bob, here's a different issue now. I agree totally, but as partially. COVID has changed the game. Okay,
Yes.
As Randy said, I can't think of another industry that has been more positively impacted by COVID than the RV industry. Now, probably home improvements, et cetera, because I know you can't get pressure-treated lumber in certain parts of the country. You can't get other components to build an addition onto your house. But as Bob and I know, because we do another national show, and Bob, those statistics for the last shipping period are insane. 500,000
first quarter.
The number used to kind of be the number that was the magic plateau for the industry. And now we're looking at possibly 545,000 units based upon the latest projections. So, Randy, I think it's important that everybody know that it's not the individual dealers that need to take the heat here now, because they can't deliver you a product that ain't been delivered to them, right?
And again, it goes back to the initial contact and the groundwork laid by the sales guys and the F&I guys. And, some people...
Bob brought it up, the expectations.
Yeah, setting the proper expectations. And Bob just said it. Our industry doesn't do the best job that they could with it. And people look at us like the car industry. I had the conversation with a gentleman last night that was having some issues with his coach. And my truck was parked in front of his camper. And I was like, you think of your camper like my truck? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, well, that was built by robots with zero tolerances, and that camper was built by the best guy that showed up that day. You're not anything alike.
You bring up a very interesting point, because we know that, because of extensive research that we do for all of our shows, that the unemployment rate in Elkhart, Indiana, is 3%. Now in Elkhart, it's probably less than that.
No. 3.9% in
Elkhart County.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 3% is like full employment. And that's another issue. So in addition to delays in the factory, then there's issues about getting even if all the parts came in, do you have enough people that day to make your production run? So it's compounded all the way down the line. And then do we have enough transport drivers to bring it from Elkhart to New England?
That's right.
So there's just challenges every way. And then, again, one of the biggest challenges that we've been encountering is, again, the potential COVID employee or that came in contact. Vermont is our flagship. They have probably one of the most stringent COVID policies in the country. Yep. And we ran that policy at all of our locations because we couldn't do different ones at every location. It just wouldn't make sense for us. So we went with the Vermont one, being that that's our home base, and we were taking temperatures and doing everything. But if someone thought they came in contact with somebody, that person's out for like 3 days to 14 days, depending on the situation. And so nobody's ever fully staffed either. I remember trying to call Norcold where they weren't even answering the phones because they didn't have enough help. Manufacturers having to shut down whole production lines because it got in there. So that's still very, very present in our world, and I hate making excuses, and I won't make excuses to it, but it's a real thing, and it's definitely slowing us down everywhere.
How does that, if we look at it from a service perspective, Randy, how do you handle a situation where the customer comes in and you diagnose the problem and you order the parts? I assume do you send the coach home with the customer and say, I'll give you a call when the parts come in? Because you're going to have an awful lot of coaches in the yard that you would be waiting for individual parts, never mind on the manufacturing side. How does a dealer handle that? How does Pete's handle that?
We like to. That is protocol, where our camping seasons are so short. I would much rather the camper be with you than with me. If there's a storage situation or it's hindering your camping experience or causing damage to the camper, that one I'm keeping and we're going to follow it through. But if we can use it, if you can use the camper minus the microwave that may not be working or the shade that's broken or something like that, use the darn thing. I've even purchased furnaces like electric heaters and different dorm refrigerators. Whatever, I'll buy it. I'll tell you to go buy it and save the receipt for me and use it. And either I'll tell you to keep it when you're done or to give it to me because I'll give it to the next person. But I want you to get out there camping. There may be a little bit of nuisance. You might have to work a little harder. It may not look as pretty as it once did, but God darn it, let's go camping.
Well, I think that's a great message, though, that we may have an uncomfortable year. There'll be some things that you're probably not going to like, some things that the dealers don't like, but let's get to the campground because we all know what happens when. John, tell us what happens when you get to the campground.
Well, what do you mean by that? Say that again.
Well, you're frustrated you can't get a part. You're frustrated you can't get service, but you pull into that campground. You start
beating up the campground people.
No more the dealer. I'm going to go to the campground.
No, I meant the euphoric feeling that you get when you cross the gate or you cross the bridge to Cape Cod or I cross the bridge going into Maine. All the other stuff goes away, right, Randy?
Oh, right.
So it does for me.
So the topic of this show is supposed to be must-do spring tips. Okay, Bob, let's do this. We'll get back to that topic because we've talked about everything except that. Except the one question that I asked, which was right on target at 7:01. However, Bob, if you want to check some comments, I'm going to ask Randy a question about what comments you want to highlight here. Randy, when I said the three things that I thought that I had in mind that I don't think people check on as much when they go out for their first show for their first venture of the year is the water system, why you should clean it up a little bit. Okay. And even though your tires look like they're inflated to the proper level, they should be checked. And you know what? If you can't remember like me, whether you changed your oil in October or now, just take a look under the hood because in New England, there might be some little gray critters that have made their way into your hood compartment. Could you cover those basic things?
Yeah. So 100%. If we're pulling our coach out of storage for the spring to get it ready for use for the camping season, after going through, I mentioned the roof, check the ceiling on the sidewalls. We always want to check that to see if we need to address anything after all the cold and hot. Fire your appliances. Put water to it, obviously. De-winterize your coach, push out all that paint, replace it with water, and then I want to see you fire your appliances. During Bob and I do a bunch of seminars throughout the winter months typically. Didn't this year, but one of the things that we talk about is, again, firing those appliances and what they sound like. You may not remember you couldn't tell me what your furnace sounded like, John, but if you fired it up and it sounded different than it did last year, you'd be able to identify that.
Yep.
Turn on the water heater. Did a bug crawl in there and cause an issue where the fuel mixes with the air to heat the water? This is stuff where if you do it at the campground during your first camping trip and something doesn't work, then you're 100% to blame. You parked your camper 6 months ago in New England and then just took it and just thought everything would work the same way it did when you went away. I really hope that's the case, but in the reality of it, it's probably not.
But do it in your yard, Randy, right? While it's still there. Don't drive to Myrtle Beach and find out, uh-oh.
And do it a few weeks before you go camping if you can. That way, probably chances of getting into service right now is going to be impossible, but at least we can maybe give you a part or head you in the right direction or give you a resource that will help limp it along or get it to through that weekend until we get you taken care of 100%. But we have lots of different ways to get things to work. They may not work out perfectly, but work well enough for you to go camping because that's what the name of the is.
Just like Jim Roy says, we always do a trial run in the driveway before camping.
Yeah.
Even if it means sleeping in it one night, just to make sure you're not hearing any of those little critters that might have found their way into it.
100%. Put water to it. I would recommend putting water. When you put water to it, I have a 5-second rule where I will turn the water on for 5 seconds and I will turn it off. And then I will go in and look to see if I've got any leaks anywhere. Even if it was winterized by a professional. I've winterized thousands of coaches over the years. I still miss an outside spray port once in a while, or, I didn't do this, or I didn't see that, or something didn't work the way I intended it to. So usually it's not a big deal to fix. It's replacing a small fitting. But if you turn the water on and walk away and just expect everything to be perfect, and it's not, a big mess can, ensue that you have to clean up. And then that's when the phone starts ringing. So turn the water on, check, common sense doesn't seem to be so common anymore.
Nope.
So let's educate people to do some of these common sense steps that will save them having to call me or cleaning up that mess. That we joke in the seminars where a 5-minute mess is a lot harder to clean up than a 5-second mess, and that's the reality of it. So check the water system, but do it smart. Fire the appliances. Check the tires, like you said, John. I mean, changing the tire on the side of the interstate is about the most dangerous thing you can do, especially with cell phone drivers. I've changed tires on the side of the interstate. I've changed axles. It is not a fun thing to do. I actually park my truck so if somebody plows into it, it should push it over the bank and give me time enough to jump out of the way. That's what I think about when I'm working on the side of the road.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to take a quick commercial break.
So much new stuff happening at Lee's Family for 2021.
Oh, yeah?
So much new stuff happening at Lee's Family for 2021. Like their huge show yard expansion for more units and plenty of parking. Over 500 additional units arriving, including Wildwood, Grand Design, Cougar, and Montanas. 150 motorhomes like Winnebago and Echo are arriving. Go see them on Route 302 in Wyndham and at Lee'sFamilyTrailer.com. The fifth wheel capital of New England.
Love how it feels in your home on wheels from Lee's Family Trailer.
And speaking about Echo, I think they're arriving at Lee's Family Trailer. They are off the production line now, and dealers are starting to get them, and that's going to be a hot number this year. So visit what Lee's is now Camping World in Wyndham, Maine. All right, Randy, I cut you off. Go ahead back onto that schedule.
So I think we were just kind of like talking about the basics, the tires. Check the tires. Check not even the tires. Check the running gear. The state of Vermont has a state inspection on trailers, which requires us to check all your suspension components. We're going to check your tires. We're going to check your wheels. We're going to check your wheel bearings. We're going to check the lighting on the camper. We're going to check your brakes. Check to see if you got a fire extinguisher. So the Vermont requires us to do that as part of state law. And I just think it's real good practice to be in no matter where you live, because going down the road at 65, 70 miles an hour and you have a blowout or you have a wheel bearing that goes south on you or you got a brake dragging, I mean, a lot of things can happen, especially after it's sat around 4 or 6 months. So we need to, take a look at these things to make sure that they're going to work appropriately for us. race car driver just doesn't go out to the race and turn the key and go in and run it. They do testing and they tweak and they check and they recheck and they make sure it's going to make it through the race, right? And that's the same with your camper. It's no different.
Dante's got a question there. Can you read that? Is there a checklist
for that? Dante, no.
I bet you Walter does. I will guarantee you.
Somebody's probably got one.
Yeah. If you Google it, there's probably some out there as far as the spring checklist.
Yeah.
Randy, Michelle's got one there. What about tire monitoring systems? Is that something? How do you have to go to the dealer for that? How does somebody check that?
So tire monitoring systems, either they come on your coach, or you can purchase some aftermarket. If you're going on the motorized side of things, be careful because there is some valve stems that have your tire pressure gauges in them.
The other way. I was thinking somebody's got them on their coach right now. Where does that fit in the spring checkup or the winter checkup thing, or do you check them up or just wait? Is the dealer qualified to check those?
What I would do is those should work as you're going down the road. Usually as your wheels start spinning, the inertia engages the tire monitoring system. I would just connect it Bluetooth to my phone or however you read that monitor system, but that should definitely be checked. And if one isn't reading, maybe the batteries need to be changed, or some of the monitoring systems we've sold over the years, you would actually buy a new monitor because it's a sealed unit and you can't change the batteries. They're good for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. So, Bob, a couple of things here that we should be concerned with here. Bernie Carlton did come in late, but he did apologize.
Well, I noticed that, so I was kind of going to let him, skate a little bit.
He
but
did apologize.
He did.
I apologize.
He did apologize. And that kind of gets him off the hook a little bit. If you're going to be late for the show, the proper procedure is to introduce yourself when you sign in and apologize to the rest of the fans. Yeah.
We know when they sign in. Jim Roy had an excellent comment when I talked about camping in your driveway just before you want to take it out on the road. Bob, find that next comment down. He has a special term for it. The next term. Right after that. Dramping.
Dramping in the driveway?
That's driveway camping, dramping. Okay? And
right.
Now, Randy, Lisa has an excellent question. If one is living in their RV all year, does the care and maintenance differ than one who takes it out seasonally? And what, if any, does one need to do differently from if living in an RV full time? So
it does differ a little. Obviously, you're gonna need to do things more often because you're using it more often, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll need to check that stuff. I also, if I'm living in something where it's my primary residence, where if I'm camping for the weekend and something catastrophic happens, I can shut the door, hop in my vehicle, and go home or get a hotel room, right? If you're living in it and that's where your pets are and all your stuff and everything, it's a little bit harder to do that. I would make sure that I'm doing some preventative stuff. I'm checking on my appliances ahead of time. I'm maintaining my appliances. I'm going through my appliance, looking at cleaning things. I also will have a backup plan. When people are camping in colder weather, I'm like, well, you brought an electric heater with you, didn't you? No. I was like, so you were going to just rely on that temporary use heater in your camper all winter long? Yes. Don't do that. have a backup plan for everything, because if you have a backup plan for everything, you can usually get through it. And if you don't have a backup plan and you'd have one plan and one plan only, if that something deviates or doesn't work in that plan, usually it takes us we can't fix things like this typically. It's a process.
Yeah. Randy, how about Walter's comment? We always put some water in the tank and then use the pump to check for leaks.
So that is something that our PDI guys do, and I think you'll find a lot of PDI guys do across the country. Your water pump has a 40 PSI pressure switch on the head of it, typically 40 to 50 PSI. And it won't come on unless you ask it to come on, or the pressure in the system drops below 40 PSI, prompting the pressure switch to engage the pump and pressurize the system. So what Walter is doing is he's using that pump to pressurize his system, and if he doesn't hear the water pump come on, he knows he doesn't have any leaks. So it's a pretty smart way of doing it, using the stuff below. But you got to be in the unit. It's got to be quiet, and you've got to be able. I probably within a half an hour, if your water pump doesn't chime, you're going to be okay.
Well, I think he fits all those. I think he fits all those qualifications except quiet. So, and I see Frank has joined us tonight. So I have to ask because we're all anxiously waiting to see his customized DRV Mobile Suites. So I'm not sure what he meant. That was really quick, but
the commercial that only lasted 5 seconds.
Oh, the commercial. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll ask you again. I'd like to ask Frank if the mobile mansion has arrived yet. Okay. Who else we got here? All right. So
no, it's not there yet.
No. Oh gosh.
Okay. So
all right.
Now, Randy.
Yes.
With your lofty position within the industry in New England, you probably do a lot of shows like this. You got to admit, this is probably one of the most educated audiences that you come across. Would you agree with that?
So you guys are a lot of fun, and you have a great following. I'm not going to lie. I do pipe in on days where I'm not on the show. And I usually say hi, and I look at the comments, and I see a lot of repeat people. I see a lot of people that I know from the industry, and so I think you guys are doing a great job, and they have some great questions, and they're not afraid to ask them. A lot of the stuff that Bob and I do, like on the seminars and things, we've got to like drag it out of people, the questions that they want to know the answers to, and you don't have that problem here. These guys are great, so awesome job.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of it is that we don't have to pull in if we don't know the answer to a question, we can say, hey, audience, come on, what do you got here? Right. And these guys are just absolutely they're so sharing, and I think that everybody would agree that RVers are a very sharing group of people.
So I'm involved with a lot of the terminology when it comes to Facebook and stuff like that, I'm not great at, but I see lots of different like pages, I guess, the Seiko pages, the Keystone, the different keepers and things like that. And when Airstream, when somebody has a problem, I would never go on there with a problem because I wouldn't think of it. That's not the way my mind works. But lots of people go on there with problems, and there's like immediate answer. I even every once in a while I'll pipe in and I'll toss something out there if I know the answer to it. I try not to, or if I see somebody doing something unsafe, I will make a point to say that it is unsafe. But people, RVers, like to share their experiences. They like to help out other RVers, and it's no different when you go to the campground. I had funny story. I pulled into Bailey's campground. This is probably a couple of years back. I've backed up a couple campers over the years. I can do it.
Okay. Oh, with the
I had my daughter, who's 12 years old now. She was probably 10 at the time. She's behind the camper, the fifth wheel I'm backing up, and she's bringing me back, and she knows how to do it. I really don't need her there, but it was a great thing for her to do and feel like she's involved. And she's doing a great job. Well, this guy comes over, and he's trying to help her. And she's like, no, I got this. And like he backed us in, and he was very friendly, and I'm just like, thanks, dude. I mean, all he was doing was trying to help out. And so that's what RVers do, which is really cool.
Yeah. That's so funny that you mentioned Bailey's, because when we talked with the guys up there with not Tommy,
Tom?
With Galen. Last summer, we were at the end of the season, we said, Galen, did you have a lot of first-time visitors this year? He said, like double the number of normal first-time visitors. And I said, were they first-time RVers? He said, yes. I said, how do you know? He said, because when we watched them try to back their units in, we knew they were first-timers.
That's where the first fight starts.
Exactly.
And there's so many first-time RVers out there right now. We're looking at our numbers today, and there's a couple numbers that we align with each other in our the reports that we pull. And one of them was just not working. And we were like, why is this so high and this so low? This is not the way it's supposed to be. So we dug in. Hitches. There's so many new hitches going on, which brings a lot more. It brings more money to the parts department than the service department with the labor involved. And usually it's a pretty even wash. Well, it was doing this, and it was skewing our numbers. And we figured it out that there's so many new RVers out there, first-time RVers buying hitches, having them installed, that it's taken our parts numbers and So that's the kind of we're not expecting that. It's not normal.
It's a great metrics because it validates the fact that over 50% of these people are new to the industry, and so they have to buy all the new stuff. Yeah.
And my guys are really good at selling hitches.
Hey,
they apparently are. Well, it's kind of tough pulling the trailer out of your lot without a hitch, Randy. So I don't know, you maybe give them a little bit more credit than they deserve.
Don't they have that duct tape that'll hold everything that the infomercials? You just duct tape. The funny thing is, you look at some of these comments coming in, Bob. These are amazing. Oh no, Bernie had a question. What do you recommend for slide gasket maintenance? Is there a spray? Is there a liquid? Is there a cream or what?
So anything that is made out of rubber, including your tires and your roof, and anything that will be exposed to the elements. Rubber has waxes, oils, and polymers in it. I've said it. I think I even said it in this show prior. Yeah. We need to replenish those. Those will dry out from the sun. It is no different than putting. It will dry it out. It will evaporate. The moisture will take it out. So we need to replenish those, and we need to protect those. There is the stuff that we recommend at Pete's RV. It's actually a Camco product. It will spray on. It foams up, much like the tire foam when you shine your tires, and then it will penetrate the rubber. It will condition the rubber, and it will fall to the ground and dissipate. Nothing you need to do other than just spray it. If you are using that on an in-wall slide system, which are a Schwinn-Tech system, I do recommend cleaning any residue from that process out of the gears on the side of your slide box, because those can gum up the motors and the gears inside the wall over a period of time. So I would recommend clean those. But condition your seals is a great thing for longevity and to keep the water out of your camper, for sure, especially when you leave your slide outs open for a long period of time.
Yep. Good point. Walter, that looks awesome. Now, Walter was kind enough to, not a checklist, but a set of procedures. I think Dante was asking that thing about what to do. Bob, can you get that there?
Walter?
Walter at 7:45.
That one?
Yeah.
I had it up there.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of add-ons from dealers asking to buy back. Oh, ads. You mean advertisements. Well, yeah, that's true, Frank. I see the same thing. I see a lot of ads from dealers asking to buy back. They want to buy your RV because they know they're going to give you wholesale for it. They're going to spend a few $1,000s cleaning it up, right, Randy? And
not that much, but it can happen. Yeah.
put it right back on the market. But they got to make it ship shape. They got to make it shiny and bright and recondition, just like a new car.
There's very few used campers available right now. That you're not seeing those come up like you once did. Again, there's a lot of new people in the industry, so it's different than it has been in the past. And we're adapting and overcoming, and we'll figure it out. All the dealers will figure it out just as we do.
You'll find a way, right?
Yeah, and Michelle is going to learn how to back up this summer by hook or by crook, one way or another.
Well, the biggest thing I can go out to find a parking lot like on a Sunday where there's no one around, and get yourself some cones or some barrels or something where if you hit it, it's not going to create any damage. And that's how you want to practice. That's the best thing that you can do. I know when you see people come to the campground, I back a lot of campers in for people because they don't want to be embarrassed because everybody's watching when you pull up with a shiny new truck and a camper.
It's like when you're teeing up on the first hole of the golf course and you got 30 guys behind you that
exactly
they're going to grade your swing and everything about it, right?
Or go to Normandy where they're all pull-through sites and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, if you can practice where you're not going to get scrutinized and you don't have to worry about that, I think that weighs heavy on a lot of people. It would me, because I don't like to make mistakes. So finding that place on a Sunday afternoon where there's not a big population and just practice and look at it and think about it and don't freak out. Keep an open mind. I did not know how to back up campers when I was born. I didn't. Over the years,
that's a good line. I haven't heard you use that one in the seminars before, pal.
You can have that one, Don.
Here's a couple interesting comments here. Lisa says, "Do you foresee many campers available after COVID ends? people turning them in. And Bob Zagami and I were doing a show last week, and we found out that Thor did a survey that 73% of people that have rented a camper, 73% are planning on buying one. Am I getting those figures right, Bob?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. And some of the reason that there was 27% not wanting to buy it was not because they didn't like it. They just felt that they wouldn't be able to utilize it enough. So in answer to your question, Lisa, and we had talked about this last year. I said, just wait a year. There's going to be a lot of people that don't want them. Okay. They bought them, or they overbought, or they bought too small or too big. They bought the wrong unit, for what they wanted it for. But people who are going camping, and even KOA had another thing about either liked it or loved it, and will continue to do so. Anyway.
Right now, Michelle, I disagree with you here. Finding an empty parking lot is impossible now. No, go to a school on Saturday or Sunday. There's plenty of places out there that you can run with this. And the shopping malls, although people are starting to go back, they're not anywhere near. Huh?
Right, Bob? Solomon Pond has
Solomon Pond. Yeah, you could. Well, she's out in Arizona though.
There's a couple so at the Vermont location, I've actually taken customers out and given them some driving tutorials. There's a couple industrial parks not too far away from the dealership where I can go get into one of those buildings on a Sunday where they've got a large parking lot for the employees and no one's there.
Yep.
Somebody said buy some cones. I think somebody said that. You can buy some of them. And the cones are good because you can stake out your spot as well.
Yep.
Whatever. I mean, this is such an informed audience tonight. So many, like Walter here. Several of the Facebook groups are filled with private parties selling RVs, but I think many existing RVers are selling, trying to maximize their resale value so they can purchase new. Now, that's interesting. The only problem that run into, Walter, where I've heard people try to do that, is that they don't have the availability for the new product, but they are getting much higher resale value for their unit than they would have a few years ago, right, Randy?
The market is good.
That's why you see a lot of the dealers advertising to buy it back. But we know from our own dealers that the dealers are watching Craigslist and RV Trader and RVT, and if they see a third party on there, they're going to call quicker than the consumer that's out there looking for a used unit. Yep. So the used market, pre-owned market now is just crazy.
Yep. And I know that I was over at one of our dealers recently, and I said, you know what? Just look up in your computer what this unit that I own. It's a 2008. And I had a mental number in my mind, and the number they came up with was $10,000 more. And I'm thinking, do I sell now, and have that extra dough? But I said, trying to find another unit at this time of year, I'm going to be the one who's saying, oh, I wish I didn't. And, we should do a show sometime or a survey. Did you sell your RV and wish you didn't? There must be some kind of show like that. But, look at Dante. My brother bought something 5 years ago and last week was offered $15,000 more than he paid for it. That's insane.
Yeah.
If I were your brother, I'd sell that. I'd sell that right there. Yeah.
And
what did Jose? Lots of them. No one will comment on your skills. Yeah, look at this. Bob, we even have side conversations going here. Jose is telling Michelle, go to a cemetery. Lots of narrow roads to practice backing up, and no one will comment on your skills.
I can't see that one.
Yeah. Yep. 751. Jose thinks he's a what do you call it? A stand-up comedian, something like that. So Randy,
there it is. Yeah.
Anything else that we can go back on topic for just about the fourth minute of the show to things that people should be doing in the spring?
I wasn't always the biggest advocate of sanitizing water systems, but after becoming a dad and kind of re-looking at the way I look at life, I think that's probably a great idea. The stuff back when I used to do it, it was done with chlorine. When I was working in the shops, there's a lot better stuff out there nowadays. The stuff that we carry is called a Spring Fresh, where you put it in your fresh water tank and mix it in conjunction with the water, depending on how many gallons your tank was, and just put it through your plumbing system, let it sit for the amount of time that it says on the bottle, and then rinse it fresh. We all remember getting like the swab shoved down our throat for the strep test when we were kids, and then they put it in a little petri dish and they put it in that little dark thing that's warm. What do you think under your camper is like? It's got an underbelly, it's moist and it's warm and it's inside a tank. Things can grow. Freshening that up or making sure it's sanitized. I don't recommend drinking out of an RV plumbing system unless it's a specific drinking water plumbing system. But, I brush my teeth, I cook, I shower, I do things like that. So with Lillian with me, which is my daughter's name, we will do the Spring Fresh typically on an RV.
Yep. So Jerry does the same thing here. That my friend Mike Camuso, who used to run RVs R Us before he passed away suddenly about 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe not even that long. He said, get a little quart of bleach, and when you're putting your water in, put a few drops in the hose, and then hook it, and then go through. And he said you'll smell a little bit of bleach, but it made it through, and that small amount will clean, but not necessarily harm you. And I think everybody, just this past weekend when we were out camping, some people said, you know what, I don't drink the water. I mean, we brush our teeth and shower with it, but we get this stuff.
So, but it can clog up plumbing systems. It can get into your water heater. It can grow. So I think think of it as maintenance, where you're getting rid of the black algae and any mold that may ensue from sitting around a damp surface, sitting around in a warm, dark climate. It will rear its head at your receptacles. I mean, if this stuff gets large enough, I've pulled faucet packings apart before that have had garbage in them from the fresh water tank. It happens.
Yep.
Bob, you're muted.
Good point. Bob, put your mic on. Nope, don't hear you. I get to take over the show.
I think this happened last time too, didn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the John DePietro Camping Hour. Thank you so much. But Randy, we always want to thank you for coming by, because you know what? Sometimes one little bit of your wisdom can save people. And how do you get wisdom from making mistakes, right?
I've made them all.
Right? And that's the thing. Can save you thousands of dollars. And this is not the year that you want to have your RV sitting at a dealership waiting for service. And I think Jerry mentioned something before, but he started talking about the United States National Weather Service. Jerry, how long is the service back up now at Majors? If you're still here, just punch that in. But I think everybody will tell you that a little bit of work up front can save you a ton of problem.
Yeah, if we lose my voice here again, it's my headsets or my batteries telling me it's going to die soon.
Yep. Middle of May. Middle of May.
Yep.
No RV dealer wants your RV sitting there waiting for service for a long period of time. I don't care who the dealer is, and no RV customer wants their vehicle sitting there. And
right.
So I work with a lot of customers, and it has to be the right person where, some of the repairs that we make are made very quickly, almost quicker than you can hook your camper up and even think about bringing it to your dealer. So I'll work with customers where if I can send them a part, if it's something that they can change safely and it's not something to do with the running gear or something that needs a qualified technician to do. And customers are really cool, and they start to take ownership of their camper. Airstream customers, especially on this, they want to be able to work on it. They want to know how it works, and they want to be – this isn't every customer, mind you, but a lot of the guys like me, I don't like to not have something work, and I'm going to try to figure it out and get it to work. That's how I made my living. So if I can train people by doing the videos or doing the seminars or doing these shows with you guys, and you guys do a great job at it as well. I see the guests you have on here talking about much like the same things that we talk about. That's what people really need to do. I think a lot of that people have gone away from that a lot. I'm from Vermont. That's what we do in Vermont. We don't call somebody if your stuff is broke. We fix it ourselves.
Well, you got to go visit Jim Roy. Number one, you could compare beards, but that's how he built his entire Airstream restoration business. Because
you guys know each other. Randy, are you aware of Jim?
So I've seen him on your show and I've heard tell of him. I've not met him personally, but it looks like he's doing some amazing work. And if I'm up there in the area or he's at a show that I'm attending to, I'd love to speak with him.
Hey, you guys can get together and be the new version of the Smith Brothers.
Yeah, but they're not old enough to remember Smith Brothers cough drops. Maybe.
Not.
Maybe.
I'm perfectly okay with not being old enough.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Let's see if there was anything that we didn't. I don't think so. Randy, any closing words before I hit the closing commercial? I want to thank you again for joining us tonight.
I guess I would just tell everybody, be safe out there this year, especially if you've been protected in your home all winter long. Have fun. Give the dealers, not just Pete's RV, I'm talking about all the dealers. We're all working really hard for you guys right now, and things are not lining. Our industry is very much suffering, just like every other industry out there. We're doing the best we can, and I know all the dealers out there are working really hard to get everything across the curb, take care of everybody in a timely fashion. I see the overtime dollars being spent. I know how many hours I put in a day. Everybody's working hard to get you guys out there. So bear with your dealers. Give them some compassion. Understand a little bit. Work on educating yourself. Get on the videos. Some of these things that you can do yourself. This is the year where you may want to start doing that a little bit more because it will get you out there sooner.
Great show, everybody.
All right. Thank you, folks. I'm going to hit the closing commercial, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Randy. Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys.
This edition of RVing in New England.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
This edition of RVing in New England was brought to you by Lee's Family Trailer Sales and Service, one of America's fastest growing RV dealerships, and was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.